Okay, so we're back in the application area. I really hope that you enjoyed watching that video. Let's go fly a kite. I love that song. So let's talk about an application question. Let's put what we've just learned about when given a leg and a hypotenuse. Follow me along this story. This is Sandavi. Give her some hair. Beautiful. She has decided that she is going to go fly a kite. That kite is not really connected. There we go. Not really. It looks like a kite, but who cares? And she brought her friend Shrutika. Give her some hair. To kind of join. But, social distancing is happening, right? You got to fly a kite with social distancing. So the length of the rope of this kite is 100 meters. So a really long rope. And although the rule currently is being 2 meters apart, Sandavi and Shrutika wanted to be extra careful about not giving any viruses away. And so they actually stood 60 meters apart. Whether that was because Sandavi didn't want to be close to Shrutika, I don't know, but they wanted to be 70 meters apart. And my question to you is, how high above Shrutika is the kite? Okay, so we've got this idea. You can see a triangle forming, right? And so we need to figure out this height area right here on that triangle. Well, we have most of the information, we just don't have that last leg. So let's flush this out and kind of see what we can do. So we know that the hypotenuse is that the rope, so that's going to be our longest line. That's going to be our 100, and we have one of our legs here, okay? So we're going to start writing out our ideas. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. We know, let's put in the numbers we know. We're going to call a squared this unknown one, plus b squared, which is 60 squared, equals our 100 meters of rope, which is 100 squared. Okay, we're going to flush out the math. A squared, 60 squared is 3,600. Didn't really do a great job of writing that, sorry. Let's make it a little bit easier to see, plus 3,600. And 100 squared is 10,000. So at this point, we're isolating the variable. So we're going to bring this number over here all the way to the other side. So it's going to be a squared equals 10,000 minus 3,600. And we get a squared equals 6,400. So at this point, we know that this line's area is 6,400. That square is 6,400. But we don't know exactly how high that kite is flying above Shrutika. So we have to square root 6,400. And we get the answer of 80 meters, right? Because if I see that this is a 64, it's the root of this. I know that the square root of 64 is, well, it's 8, right? And so I know that starting point is going to be correct. So it's 80 meters above Shrutika. So that's kind of one way of figuring out an application question. When given a word question like that, how do you figure it out? Let's do one that you guys will kind of try to figure out yourself, please. Okay. So a lot of where you see right angle triangles is on wheelchair ramps. So let's say that a wheelchair ramp has a ramp. The ramp is 9.6 meters long. Okay. And the horizontal is 9.5 meters. We need to figure out what's the vertical height of the ramp. So when given something like this, what we're trying to say is this idea of this ramp, that's the hypotenuse of the triangle. When we're given the horizontal, we're talking about the part that's on the ground. And when we're talking about the vertical, we're trying to figure out what this height is. So let's plug in our numbers. We know that this is 9.6 and this is 9.5, and we need to figure out what our height is, our vertical height. Okay, so pause the video and please try it yourself. Okay, so you should have tried it yourself, and hopefully you've gotten to a good point. Let's see if you are correct in your answers. So again, we know the hypotenuse is going to be our c squared, and we'll call this one our b squared, this 9.5. So what we're looking for is our a. So let's plug in our formula, a squared plus b squared. Again, it's so simple in the sense of if you can remember and identify the proper legs and hypotenuses and then plug them into the formula correctly, I promise you this is going to be a very simple thing. The next lesson, when we look at 3D, the 3D use of Pythagorean theorem, it might get a little bit more complex. But right now we're just taking it up a notch from what we did last class. So a squared plus 9.5 squared equals 9.6 squared. We'll flush out the math. 9.5 squared is 90.25. My goodness, my writing is getting small like Edith. Edith's writing, not Edith's height. Come on. So we got 90.25 equals 92.16. We're going to isolate the variable by moving it onto the other side. Minus 90.25. And we're left with a squared equals 1.91. Well, that sounds like it could be the vertical height, but we still have to get rid of the squared. So a equals the square root of 1.91, which means that a equals 1.4 centimeters. So if we said, meters. We said the other ones were meters. This is also meters. And we know we round that up to the nearest tenth. Okay, so again, another word problem where you're given 2 and you have to kind of hear it out. When it talks about the ramp, or it says things like on an angle, it's obviously talking about the hypotenuse. When it talks about the horizontal, it's talking about this bottom line. And when it talks about the vertical, it's talking about the line that goes to the sky. All right,